Hello everyone, welcome back. Thanks for checking out another episode. Today I want to go over a little bit of a tutorial on what I did to make a DIY reptile hide for my ball python. Alright, so starting off here, I thought I'd do this in photo slideshow rather than a video tutorial. Wasn't sure which one I was going to do, but I think this works the best and less drawn out, and you can see pretty much the basics of what needs to get done. So first off, anyways, I start off with picking a bowl size for the animal that I was creating the hide for. In this case, it was an adult female ball python. And what I did, first off, I cut out a little bit of an opening to the size that I thought I needed. And then the outside of the bowl, I just scuffed that lightly with some medium grit sandpaper. Not really, it doesn't really matter what grit you use. Really, it's just all you want to do is remove some of the shine and create a little more of a scratched surface for this expanding spray foam to stick to. And as you can see here, I just use this spray foam. I lifted the bowl up off the ground a little bit, put on a box so it's all on the inside. That way when you're spraying the expanding foam all over, it doesn't stick to the surface that you're spraying it to. So I found putting up in the air worked pretty good. Once you've got that all covered and to a point where you're happy, I went up fairly high because you will be shaving off some of that foam to kind of create more of a rock-like look and texture. You can go as detailed as you want or as minimal as you want. It's totally up to you this step, but I shaved off all the gloss parts of the expanding foam. That I think is the most important thing, is just remove all that gloss once the spray foam dries. So do let it dry overnight. And then I shaved off with a razor blade. Be careful with doing that. Obviously when you're using a razor blade, you want to cut the foam, not your fingers. So I just create a little bit of chiseled out grooves in it, some lines, kind of mimic what a rock might look like. And then once that was chiseled off, you're pretty much ready for the next step. Next step being I used a sanded grout to cover the whole surface here. And you don't have to use the grout with sand in it. I just did so because it creates a little bit of more of a rock feeling texture. And depends on the animal that you're using it for. Ball python I'm using it for, I thought the sanded texture might give a little more of a rough surface for the snake to rub up against when in shed. And then when applying the grout, it's best to do multiple thin coats rather than try and load it all up all at once. And then there's good dry times in between. I would say I waited myself about a day in between coats, so you can do a little bit sooner than that, but I just again, I had time, didn't want to rush it. If you do go on too fast though, the layers can crack over because you're kind of like not letting the bottom coat dry before the top coat starts drying, so it will crack. The cracks don't look bad though. It kind of looks like, again, kind of like a rock cracking, so it can add some pretty interesting look to it. So again, up to you whether or not how long you want to wait. Then you can see kind of overlapping it. As you put more coats on, it will start to fill in all those little holes from the foam and make it look less like spray foam more and more coats you put on it. So anyways, once the grout is applied here, then it's time to paint it. I'm showing here the paints that I use and also the sealant as well that goes on it. The paint and the sealant is all water-based, so very, very important to use water-based paints and a sealer, because if you use oil-based, it'll give off toxic fumes and it will likely end up killing your animal. So don't do that. Anyways, you don't have to go too expensive. I actually found these paints at the dollar store. You can get them at a craft store. The most expensive thing is probably the sealer. You can see that picture there, and I'll put some links to where you can get that. And then once you've put the paint on, it depends on how detailed you are. It can either look good or it can look quite realistic. I never really done one of these myself, and I think it came out pretty good. I don't think I am the most artistic person, and I think I can do okay. But what I did, I kind of layered it a little bit. Some of the darker paints went into like the low spots, kind of like mimicking shadows. The cracks in there I kind of filled with a little bit of a darker color, then kind of blending it out into a medium to a light top, being a little more of a light surface there. So again, it just creates a depth as what you're looking at. But again, the animal that you're housing, I don't think will really care about that too much. It's all on what you want it to look like. So then once the paints are dry, it's time to put the sealer on. And again, with this here, light coats, let it dry to appropriate dry times based on what product you're using. You'll have guide instructions on the can. So yeah, that's really all the steps into doing creating your own hide. Actually, one thing I forgot to mention is whenever you are creating the little side opening for your animal to come in and out of, it is important to sand those rough edges down just so you're not leaving anything sharp for your animal to get cut on. But yeah, again, you can use your imagination. Lots of options here. If you can even go something as simple and basic, if you want to do a very inexpensive one, you can leave the spray foam out of this, the sealant out of this. You can just get a bowl, scuff it up, use some water-based paints to paint it. And just if you aren't sealing it, you don't want to use it in anywhere where there's a moisture and high humidity, just for water-based paints without a sealer on them. So just a little note on that side. But yeah, really, it's a pretty fun little project, and it is either it can be more expensive to do if you're using it for just one animal, a small animal, but it can also save you a lot of money if you're using it as a larger hide, or you might have multiple animals and need multiple hides. So this is a great way to save money and have a little bit of custom look to your setup. So yeah, I think we'll end the video here. And as always, I appreciate you checking out another video. And if for any questions come up, if there's anything I left out that didn't answer anything clearly, or someone just needed some advice, etc., kindly leave some comments down below and I will get to them and help where I can. Thanks again.